What's going on, guys? Welcome back. More MMA commentary for you. Do me a favor, take a moment, hit the like button, subscribe button, criticism in the comment section, Twitter. My username is Shutdown Safety. His name is Lionheart Smith. Here to take a look at tonight's UFC 197, Jones versus St. Preux from the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. First card on the fight is going to be Andre Touchy-Feely versus Yair Rodriguez. Rodriguez has been a bit wild. I think he's shown a good chin, though, some good stamina. He's been up against some tough opponents, but this is by far his biggest opposition. Feely comes from Team Alpha Male, where he came in with really good striking and feet in his hands, and Alpha Male's kind of worked in some of the wrestling and clinch. But, you know, Benavidez left Alpha Male, and I think that really impacted Andre. I think Rodriguez is a more underdeveloped fighter. I think he's got more raw power. I think he's probably going to have to rely on Feely making a mistake to get this win. I don't see Feely doing that in this matchup. I think it's going to go to the judges, and I think Feely's going to get the win.
And that takes us right into Robert Whitaker versus Rafael Natal. It's a really interesting fight for the middleweight division, specifically for me, I guess. Both fighters are on 4-5 winning streaks, I believe. But Whitaker has more finishes. You know, I think 3 out of those 4 wins are finishes. And I believe 3 out of 4 of Natal's last 4 wins are actually decisions. I think that Whitaker is the more polished striker. I think his takedown defense is going to continue to be on point like it has been in the past. And I think that Natal needs to get this fight to the ground to win it. Whitaker has crazy power in his hands, and since he's stating, you know, he's back up to 85, and he has been for his last 4 fights, I believe. You know, I think the winner of this fight, you know, moves right into a title contention spot. And I do think that Whitaker is going to end up knocking out Natal second round probably. Anthony Pettis versus Edson Barboza, another really interesting fight, or a really good fight for the fans. I think no matter what the fans win in this one, both guys are coming off a loss. I think that Pettis has just been in more champion fights. You know, he's fighting at a higher level more consistently than Barboza has in the past. And I think that Pettis is going to have the opportunity to really let his striking go in this fight, because I don't see either one of these guys, you know, looking for the takedown. I think Pettis is going to outstrike him. He's going to outclass him. He's going to outwork him. And I think that Pettis takes the decision here.
Co-main event is going to be Demetrious Johnson versus Henry Cejudo, and Demetrious Johnson doesn't need me to introduce him. Very fast, extremely elusive, and he gets a lot of power in a punch in a really short area. Cejudo has nowhere near the quality opponents that Johnson does, but he does have the best ground game by far that Johnson's going to have seen, and I get the logic. You know, Olympic wrestlers don't always translate into great MMA fighters or wins. You look at John Jones, Daniel Cormier as proof of that. But with 2 small guys, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how good Johnson's takedown defense is, particularly if it's going to continually get tested. I think if Cejudo could get it to the ground, he would have a real shot to win. But that said, I think Johnson's going to have a little bit more urgency knowing that threat. He's going to end this fight early and get his 9th title defense.
I absolutely agree. I think that Mighty Mouse I think he's too fast. He's too dynamic. I think he presents a problem for Cejudo in every aspect of the game. I think that if Mighty Mouse was to stand in front of Cejudo the entire fight and pick his shots and not move his feet, I think that that's an easy takedown. But we all know that's just not how Mighty Mouse fights. He's gonna lots of movement, lots of punches, lots of angles, and he doesn't get tired. He moves the entire time, and I see Mighty Mouse cruising to a decision. I don't think he's going to overcommit, looking for the finish, just simply because of Cejudo's wrestling credentials. I don't think he's going to overextend himself like that. So I do see him cruising to a pretty easy decision. And then the main event is John Jones versus Ovince St. Preux. Originally supposed to be John Jones versus Cormier 2. I think this fight's also really interesting. The card is packed with interesting fights. I think this is probably one of the most athletic guys that John Jones is going to have to face. Also on short notice, it presents a problem for John Jones. You know, that Ovince St. Preux's ground game is pretty unknown for the most part. He does have a tendency to, I don't want to say choke in big fights, but he does come up short. He does have raw power. He is extremely explosive, extremely athletic. I think that if John Jones plays around too much on his feet, there's a big possibility of getting caught, and I don't think John Jones is going to do that. I see this fight happening in the clinch a lot. I see John Jones getting a takedown and beating Ovince where he's probably weakest. So I see John Jones probably getting a late finish, third, fourth round. But I do see Ovince St. Preux showing more than people are going to give him credit for. I think this fight's going to be a lot closer than the fans believe.
To me, John Jones' last real test came at UFC 165 against Alexander Gustafsson. Since then, he's gotten decisions over Glover Teixeira, over Daniel Cormier, who, again, as you mentioned, he was supposed to fight here. But it's been his own transgressions that we've discussed at length that has this fight where it is, and more importantly, has him only having 3 fights since September of 2013, none in over a year. You know, OSP has got 7 fights during that time, all in the UFC for that matter, and I get it. He lost to Teixeira, he lost to Ryan Bader, but he's committed, he's working, and he's trained for this moment. But this moment really wasn't supposed to be his fight. And I know that you can't, measure heart or determination, but I think John Jones wants to show everyone what they've been missing to a degree. And even though, as you mentioned, I'll agree, OSP is going to put up a much better fight than people predicted, I still think John Jones is going to prove that he's the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world right after we see probably the second best in Demetrius Johnson. So I'd love to know your guys' opinions on this. Appreciate you checking out this video, and we will be back shortly after UFC 197 to recap.